Okay, I just wanted to create a quick video about using AI in your assessment. Now, I'm acutely aware that probably half of you are using it anyway. I'm also aware that, the world is kind of changing super fast. And so my role really is, this isn't instructions on how to cheat at university. My role is to show you how to use it as a tool, as a lever to increase your learning, not decrease it, but also to to be able to improve what you are able to create. Um, so when we shifted from looking up journal articles in the old index system, right, which is, oh, look, it was there when I first did university, but a PhD would have a certain number of references because you would have to go through these cards and then find the journal, and hopefully the library had it. It was a physical thing. You'd have to look it up, and it slowed everything down. But then when we had internet search, all of a sudden you were able to access hundreds, thousands of research articles without anywhere near the effort. Now, that didn't mean that PhDs got done quicker. Okay. What it meant is that PhDs end up covering a lot more ground. So we're at this kind of crossroads with AI, which is exactly the same. So having AI, yes, it will do the simple things quickly, but what's actually going to happen is it's going to increase the possibilities of what you can achieve. Okay. And so that's the kind of frame of reference that I want you to bring to AI when you're thinking about how to use it. So I'm going to show you some ways of using it at risk of kind of teaching you how to cheat, I guess. But really, knowing full well that you have access to these tools already, I want to show you how to use it. And in this subject, I'm expecting everybody to use it. Okay. Because when everybody uses it, it's going to level the playing field. And then those of you who put more effort in, and I'm going to show you what that might look like, will do better. Okay. If you don't put any effort in, then you're just going to be the same as all the other people who didn't put any effort in, and you're not going to get great grades for this. Okay. So we are kind of up in the expectation. Now, there's a couple of tools that I use. Obviously, ChatGPT is kind of the probably the main thing that's been working that is been amazing. Now, ChatGPT is a large language model. It doesn't know things, right? It doesn't actually have knowledge as such. It's a probability model based on the idea that when it's been given a whole heap of data, and then it's basically run this probability model going, okay, if this word comes first, what comes second? And then if this sentence comes first, what comes next? And because it's got such a big set of information that it's drawing on, it's actually really, really good at answering questions. Okay, so it doesn't know anything. It's just based on probability. When you ask the question, what are the most energetic sports in the world? It's going to give you the answer that's most likely to be true. Now, it is really accurate. Okay, it is quite good, but it does have its limitations. So it's accurate on the things that are written about a lot. So if you're talking about the way that the heart works, it's going to provide a really good description. If you're talking about a particular theory that's been used again and again and again, it's going to provide a really good description. However, if you go down and want to understand the nature of a particular small rural community in Victoria, it's not going to be as effective. Okay. The data is old, kind of, but also the amount of information available is really small. So it doesn't have enough data to create a predictive model to answer questions about, say, Heathcote. Right? It'll be able to tell you something, but it's not going to give you the richness that you're going to get. So the approach, the example that I would use, I actually use the app on my phone often because it has an audio feature, and so that I don't have to write. But for the sake of this video, let's just write. So let's think. We're talking about how the characteristics influence health in a small rural community. So let's just assume it doesn't know anything about Heathcote. But it will understand what small rural community is. So what we're looking for is how the characteristics of a rural community might influence health. So you would ask it the question, okay, what are the main ways that the characteristics, we don't have to worry about spelling errors in this, of a small rural community might influence health. Now, you could change it to mental health. Okay, that might be something you're interested in. Okay, so we're going to pose that question. Now, think of AI as another student. This student is smart, they know stuff, but they're not always right. They're overconfident. They'll say things confidently, assuming that you're going to believe them, and you probably shouldn't. Okay, so you can't cite AI because it's just taking a really, really, really well-established guess at the information that's going to come. But what it does do is it will pose you some questions that'll be useful in another tool I'm going to show you. So if we have a look here, characteristics of small rural community. Now, this is only signposting, right? So we're not talking specifically about Heathcote. Limited access to mental health services. This was inevitable. We asked a mental health question. Scarcity of mental health professionals, geographic isolation. Okay. Now, it's given some ideas, stigma and privacy concerns. This one, from being a youth worker in Heathcote, I know that that's an issue. Social support and community ties. So it's talked about benefits and, strong community ties might have positive economic stresses, cultural. So it's given us a whole bunch of different options. Now, this is really useful because it poses ideas to us and often broadens our horizons as to what might be influencing what. But we don't know whether it's true for this specific rural community. Okay, so we need to investigate that. So we've got here, let's go limited access to mental health services. So you would actually need to take this information and go, okay, does Heathcote or whatever town you're working in have limited access to mental health services? Okay, so you're going to have to do that research to find out whether it's true or not. And then that will give you something to cite. When we had a look at Heathcote, we noticed that yes, the hospital advertised mental health services, but it was only there once every 2 weeks. Okay, and relating to the distance and the fact that they're geographically isolated means that a student would have to travel 50 kilometers to get to mental health services. Okay, so you've got to go back and have a look at the nature of the community to see whether it might be the case that this is an issue for this particular community. But this certainly helps you to ask those questions. The other thing you need to do is to not assume that it's correct. So do we know, based on this, that economic stresses have an influence on mental health? Now, chances are they do. Okay, it makes sense that not having enough money would influence mental health. But it's not evidence. Okay, this is a well-educated guess. So you need to have a look for journal articles and ask yourself the question, what does the evidence say about the way in which economic stress influences mental health? Okay, because you're going to need to draw on academic research to make the argument. There's no point you saying, oh, the fact that they're poorer means they've got poorer mental health, unless you can bring in a journal article that says when you're poorer, it leads to poorer mental health. Okay, this is about constructing a strong argument. I know that the rubric doesn't specifically state referencing. I don't actually care which style you use, but I do want you to create a good argument. And in order to create a good argument, you have to demonstrate to me that these things are true, which is about drawing on evidence. Okay. Now, so ChatGPT is brilliant for this kind of thing, right? It's also good for create me a structure, okay, of an essay. It's good for, you can get it to give you a summary of a journal article. You can get it to do all sorts of different things. And I would encourage you to ask yourself the question, can I get ChatGPT to do this? If, however, when you're doing this, you find there's nothing left for you to do, then you're starting to get to a problem. Okay, so you need to use ChatGPT as a tool, not allow ChatGPT to do everything that you're doing. So this is why the expectation is high, because I'm expecting you to use it in order to create something even better. And the way that you create something even better, yes, you might draw on this, but then you think, are there other things? And then you might add those in, but also you're going to have a look at the local situation. Is this actually an issue? Impact of natural disasters. Do natural disasters actually happen in Heathcote? Well, they kind of do. There was a flood there not that long ago, and you can check that. Okay, so you have to apply your critical thinking, your research skills in that space to fill in that gap. The other tool that we can use in terms of finding research, and again, this is an AI-driven tool, okay? But what this tool does is it actually looks for academic literature to answer specific questions that you pose it. So the comment that we had before about economic stress, we're going, okay, well, maybe, we've had a look at the data about Heathcote. They're lower socioeconomic area to a certain extent. And we believe that might have an influence on mental health, but we need some evidence to find out whether that's true. So then in this tool, Elicit, which you can get a free account for. I've got a paid account, but it doesn't give you a great deal more. It just gives you a few more references. But so we would ask the question: does financial hardship have a negative impact on mental health? Now, I don't know whether this is going to work. Sometimes you'll have to try the questions a couple of times. Now, Elicit is great because it uses language models to understand, well, to look at your question and to match it to research that probably answers your question. Okay, so Google, when you type in search terms, oh, I'm always happy if I can find 2 articles per page of 20, right? Whereas in this one, I'm happy if I can find 8 articles out of 10. So it's much better at finding articles to answer your question. We'll see whether I've actually demonstrated this or not. Okay, so when we have a look at this, we've got psychological factors associated with financial hardship and mental health. Okay, that seems good. And it's a systematic review, which says it's kind of a summary, the simple version, it's a summary of a whole bunch of papers. So that might be really useful. Incorporating financial hardship in measuring mental health impact of housing stress. Yeah, that could be useful. So you can see here, high financial hardship and mental health burden among gay and bisexual men. Yeah, so that may or may not have. So you can see here that you've got pretty good alignment between your question and the research. Now, one of the things in this program, and it probably works better if you've got the paid version, but it does work otherwise, is you've got this filter. So you can actually filter it so that it only shows you papers with a PDF, right? This is lazy, but it works. So what this will do is it will only give me articles where I can literally click a button and download the PDF, because you can't just use this and cite this. You've actually got to look at the research. Okay, so this paper that we weren't that interested in comes up with the PDF. Effects of unemployment on financial hardship and mental health. Now, this may or may not be relevant, but we can have a look at the PDF. So it will take you straight to the PDF. Maybe. Oh, it's opening on the other screen. And so then I've got that article here, right? Well, we don't need it for the sake of this. So then I've got that article. Looks like it's all in Greek. That's not going to be very helpful. So we'd eliminate that one pretty quick. Sometimes they have an English version at the bottom. Nope, all in Greek, not useful. But by clicking the PDF only button, it just kind of simplifies it. Now, you are missing out on a whole bunch of research. Okay, so sometimes when you click the PDF only button, you're actually missing some of the best research. So it's kind of a cheeky, quick way of getting the articles that you want. So AI will give you some good questions to ask. Will broaden the horizons of what you might want to talk about. Do not ever cut and paste straight from AI into an assessment. Okay, depending on who you're dealing with, you can get done for I can't remember what they call it, but plagiarism kind of thing for doing that, because it's cheating. You're allowing something else to do it. However, when you use AI to help you come up with better questions, when you use AI to guide your research and then write up your summary of that research, then that's a totally different story. Okay, but don't ever cut and paste directly from AI. Because at university, it will cause you problems. There are other contexts where it won't, but at university, it can potentially cause you problems. Think of it as a colleague that is smart and confident, but don't trust them. Okay, always double check, and use it intentionally and think about, okay, what can I add to this? What am I bringing to the table? If ChatGPT did all the work, you can guarantee that every other idiot in the room has pretty much produced the same thing. Okay, and that's why I'm kind of saying to all of you, go and use it. But what I want you to do is use ChatGPT to guide your research into the community, to guide your research into the academic literature, and then use your brain to craft an argument and tie that stuff together. Okay. So I would encourage you to do that. I am expecting that everyone is going to use it in this subject. Be cautious about using it in other subjects. Okay. Things are changing, things are moving around, but it's complicated. Okay, so we're doing something a little bit innovative in this space of giving you the tools to do it. I do not want to see cut and paste GPT content. I want to see evidence that you've actually engaged with it and really thought deeply about it, and you've used ChatGPT to make the outcome of your paper even better than it would have been without. Okay, but still bringing your own skills to the table. So go and do it, and I look forward to seeing what you can come up with. Go for it.